Hey, my name is Eliana E. Rodriguez, and I'm a Speedball Demo Artist. I'm so excited to be here with you today because I'm going to show you one of my favorite techniques, which is combining a blend roll and selective printing to get a multicolor print all in one run. Combine this with other layers like screen printing and you can get a really cool print like this one. Alright, let's get started. So I've already mixed my light green ink and my dark green ink, which are going to be the background colors of the print, and now it's time for me to do the blend roll. So for this one, what I did was add some yellow to one side and red to one side and then mix it together very slightly. Because I want the majority of the mangoes to be mostly yellow-orangish, I'm going to shy a little bit more to the yellow side. So I'm just gonna pull those colors down and then I'm gonna shift to the left and to the right a little bit as I go. And that way you can get a really nice blend on your roller. I like to use the Speedball smaller rollers. I have two 1.5 inch rollers and one 3-inch roller, and these are just really nice because they're small, they're compact, but they get the job done. So now that I have all my colors rolled out, now it's time for inking. So now that I have my inks ready, I'm going to start looking at my blocks and deciding which areas are going to get which colors. When I started creating this block, I was carving the pieces out intentionally to leave space in between the different colors, so that when I was adding green on with a roller, it wasn't going to get too much on the dark green. The other thing that I did with this matrix was I created a jigsaw matrix. So I knew that I wanted the mangoes to be a blend roll, and I knew I wanted the background leaves to be green. So what I did was use an X-Acto knife into this speedy carve, and I cut out the middle mango part so that it would pop out, which makes inking it up a lot easier. So I'm going to take that out and put that to the side. And I'm going to start with my light green. It's better to start with a lighter color because with this one, I already know that I'm going to have to wipe away certain areas, and it's a lot easier to wipe away lighter colors than it is to wipe away darker colors. You also want to make sure that you have a really good amount of ink that you're putting on there. So now that I'm done with that first layer of green, and you can see in the different areas where it kind of went on to the other blocks, I'm just going to take a baby wipe and selectively wipe away those areas. What's really nice about using Akua inks is that they clean up with baby wipes or soap and water or paper towels and water, which means that when you have a multicolored block, you can wipe away areas where you didn't want a certain color, and it's relatively easy. So I'm just making sure that I'm also using like a fresher piece of baby wipe every time I wipe because I don't want to be adding more ink to different areas. So when you've done that part, I'm gonna let that dry just a little bit. I'm gonna move on to my mangoes and start that blend roll. So because these are cut out, that makes for a really nice way to kind of go around the shape. So instead of going straight across, I kind of did like a circular motion, and that just creates a little bit of variety. I think on this one I'm going to have just a straight back and forth. And do like a circular motion on this one too. And you just want to make sure when you're inking a block, you're picking it up and moving it around so that you're not just getting the same old ink on there, you're getting new ink on there as well. All right. So I'm going to set those aside and come back to this main piece. All right, so that's when I'm going to get my darker color. And really make sure that you're getting enough ink on there. And you would actually be surprised how well your small roller can get into those different areas. If you're just very carefully going back and forth ever so slightly, you can actually ink up a smaller area than you think. All right, so once you get most of the areas that you feel like you can get with a roller, that's when I pull out a paintbrush and kind of dab the areas that I wasn't able to get. And with these, you want to make sure you get like a really good bit of ink on there because you're not rolling it on there, you're kind of brushing it, and sometimes the brush wants to take a little bit away from that ink that you set down. So just make sure you got like a good amount on your brush. Just touch up those areas. So although this process seems like it takes a little longer because you have to go slower, it does take some time. I do feel like it's faster because you don't have to carve out 3 separate blocks. You can do it all on one block. So you gotta make the art work for you, don't work for it. Okay. And then if there are some areas where I might have gotten a little bit of that dark green on there, I'm just gonna touch it up with the brush. Maybe blend that out a little, because who doesn't like happy little mistakes? So now it's time for me to pop the mangoes back in there. And for this, I actually like to use a popsicle stick because it helps me put the pieces in there, move the matrix around a little bit without getting my hands all inky. Just making sure it's laying in there nice and flat. And for a final little touch up on the mangoes, I like to add a little bit of red to the bottoms just to add some variety. And because I don't want these to be like super bright, I don't put too much ink on them. I make them kind of loose, not really thinking about where I'm putting these. All right, now it's time to print. So usually when I go to print an edition, I like to have a map on my press bed of where my block needs to go and where my paper needs to line up. I also usually slide my block on there because once you're working with a jigsaw piece, you want to make sure that those pieces don't fall apart or arrange in a weird way, so just sliding it on there makes it safe. I like to use the Speedball printmaking paper that comes in a pack because it's heavy enough, but the inks transfer really well. I feel like it's a really beautiful size. Alright, and there we go. That's our first layer of the multicolor print. You can see we got a light green on there, a dark green on there, and even the blend roll of the mangoes. And then the next layer I like to do is usually like a hand-drawn, more illustrative layer, but this really helps simplify the process so that I'm not carving out several blocks at once. Alright, thanks for watching!